See this drink right here? This is kombucha, or kombucha, some people say. And it's tea that has been fermented using a combination of yeast and bacteria. So that, do you see these bubbles? I don't know if you can see that. See those bubbles right there? And so it's carbonated, like soda. And those bubbles, which you can see rising right now, are from the cells exchanging gases with their environment, which is the kombucha itself. So also I flavored this with pineapple, and it is really good. Yeah, anyway, it's really good, so I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay, so to make kombucha, or any fermented food, you really should use a glass container. So this is a gallon glass jar that I had. Now, kombucha, as I said, is a combination of black or green tea. It has to have caffeine in it. And that is made out of tea leaves and hot water. But it also, you need a cup of sugar. This is sugar right here. And that is for the bacteria and yeast to feed on. So I'm using this, just some black tea, oolong tea that I got at the Atlantic Spice Store, which is a great place. And I think they do mail delivery. But anyway, so it's just black tea, right? And this is the same thing that would be inside a tea bag. And if you want to use a tea bag, you'd use like 8 to 10 of those. So I have that right here. So I'm going to put that in my glass jar. There we go. And then I'm just going to pour in the hot water to make the tea. So what I'll do is, after the tea is going to steep, and you just leave the tea leaves right in there, but when it cools down enough that you could touch it, that's when you put the SCOBY in, because otherwise you'll kill the bacteria and yeast that you are trying to employ to make this delicious thing. Okay, so I'm gonna be adding some more boiling water, and I'll fill it up to about here, but before I do that, I'm gonna add the cup of sugar. And then I'm going to give that a stir, and when it cools down, I'll show you how to put the SCOBY. So this solution is cooled down now, and it's safe to put the SCOBY in. So the SCOBY is under here, under this cloth, because SCOBYs don't really like the light very much. So it's been living here in the SCOBY Hotel. There it is. It's kind of a gross mat of bacteria and yeast. And actually, this SCOBY is really active, so while I wasn't looking, it produced a second SCOBY. So there's the original mother SCOBY on the bottom, and here's the new SCOBY. And I'm going to use that one. Why not? So I could be making 2 batches of this. So now I just kind of slide that in there, and it's going to sink in there, and it's going to start doing some respiration here. It's going to give off carbon dioxide gas, and that's why I'm just going to loosely, I have this piece of cloth, it's like a weave of cotton it's muslin, it's not very tight weave, so it lets gases come through, and I'm just going to take this cap right here, and I'm going to put it on top, and I'm not going to seal it, because the thing with the SCOBY is, this little guy, there's the mother one, is very active. It's floating in a little bit of kombucha, and that's why it ended up reproducing another SCOBY, but it's going to be releasing a lot of carbon dioxide gas. And if I put a tight cap on this, the gases need a chance to escape, and ultimately would break the jar if you didn't cap it. So it's going to stay like this for about 3 or 4 days. I'm going to be tasting it, and I'll just like take a little sip of it. It starts to create lactic acid, which is a sour compound, which actually is really good, and that's why we like things like vinegar and pickles have lactic acid, sauerkraut, and some other delicious things that we like. And so this is going to turn into kind of like a sour beverage over the next couple days, and then I'll tell you how to do the next step. So there you go. And then this little guy, I could make a second batch and use it, so we'll see what happens. All right, See you later. Well, it's been a few days and I'm gonna check on my brew. So I realized I had made a mistake. And when I put the SCOBY in, I was also supposed to put some of the kombucha in to kickstart the process here, but I forgot to do it. So nothing was happening for a couple of days. Then I went back and added some more kombucha from the jar, and look, it's already made another SCOBY. Oh my God. So the original SCOBY, you can see up against the jar here, but now it's formed a new SCOBY on top. So there are bubbles, and those are carbon dioxide bubbles that these bacteria organisms are emitting, just like we exhale carbon dioxide. And I'm supposed to taste it because it's going to get more and more sour as more acetic acid builds up as a product of this chemical reaction. And you're supposed to taste it and stop letting it do its thing when it gets to the place you want it. So it's feeding off the sugar, and it's quite sweet to start, but if you let it keep going and going and going, it will get more and more and more sour as that chemical reaction continues and more acetic acid is built up. So you should taste your kombucha to see if it tastes good to you. I like it kind of sour, but it gets really gross and sour if you let it go too long. That's starting to taste really good. I think it needs to be just a little bit more sour than that for me, so I'm gonna put this back on there for another day or two. All right, see you in a couple days. Okay, so I've strained it into this container, and it's about 3 quarts, as you can see here. And I'm gonna add some flavoring. So this is where you can add flavor to your kombucha. I'm gonna add peach because it's what's in the pantry and we're on lockdown. So hey, this is what I'm using. It can be up to 20% of the volume, and this is about 1 quart. So I think I'm gonna use a little less than half this. It doesn't have to be exact. And I'm just gonna add that. It'll give it a nice flavor, and it also gives it a little bit more of something to feed on while it's in the bottles. And I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna put it in the bottles. Okay, so I'm gonna fill the bottle. Use this ladle here. And I'm gonna fill that up. And after I fill it up, I'm gonna cap it. And then this recipe says that you should burp your bottle every day, meaning you should open the top of it. Well, I didn't read it. And it was a little bit different than the last recipe I used. So I didn't burp the bottles. And then when I went to open one of them, there was so much gas in there, it hit the ceiling. Yeah, not kidding. And then I couldn't open any of them without that happening. I had to do it outside, and I lost a lot of my drinks, so that was kind of a bummer. But anyway, I'm gonna just do that, and then I'm gonna cap those. And then they have to go again underneath a towel and sit for, I mean, really it was only a day or two for this. It's so active that it was carbonated pretty quickly. So don't forget to burp your bottles. So I've got the caps on, and already you can see that there's bubbles in there, right? So you see those bubbles rising up, and that's what we're looking for. So that means that cells have exchanged gases with their environment, and those are the gases. And that's my dog going by. Also, FYI, you can just use a regular bottle with a screw cap too if you don't have these fancy tops. So anyway, now these go underneath, and don't forget to burp them every day or you will splatter your ceiling with all your hard work. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna burp this. Okay, pretty good. Do the rest and then do it again tomorrow. Got some bubbles coming up there. Cellular gases. I think this is ready. Oh yeah. So it's pretty carbonated. Awesome. That's the pieces of, I put peach juice in there, so there's some like pulp from the peach. And yeah, it looks fizzy enough to go in the refrigerator. So once I put it in there, it will slow down that fermentation process and keep the carbonation in there. And, oh wait, I didn't taste it. Hold on. I'll tell you if it's any good. Yes, that is awesome. Tastes great. Really good. All right. Awesome.